He goes to bed late, so much on his mind, hasn't had a good night's sleep since who knows when. He looks at his past with hate, wishes he could rewind. He destroys himself with these thoughts, though it could be the death of him. He feels so insignificant, nothing he does could matter to anyone. He knows his life is just a synonym for all the mistakes he has made. Beats himself up, blasts some music, wakes up in a puddle of tears on the floor. He knows it could be the death of him, but he'll keep on doing it anyway. He just lays there on the couch, with his head in the cushions. He just lays there in his head, with his heart filled with pushpins. He just waits there with his doubts. He wastes away all the good things. He just takes in all they said, though it could be the death of him. He starts to pick up on bad habits, draws on his skin, lowers his rations. He thinks of picking up some tablets, won't go outside, loses his passions. He wants to split himself from the bad thoughts, on the inside, a mental disconnection. He knows it could be the death of him, knows he has friends, but he's too scared to message them. He knows it could be the death of him, but no one else is helping him. He just wants life to begin again, but at the same time, he is ending it. He screams and he cries, envies those who have died. He dreams and he tries, letting go of his pride. Tears stream from his eyes until soon they run dry. He's built walls round his mind, concealing all that he hides. Won't let anyone inside. Believe me, I've tried. When we see, he denies, says he's doing fine, tells us he's all right. All lies, all lies. He lives all his life in perpetual night. There's blood on the knife. He's lost the will to fight. He turns off the lights, says his goodbyes. Though nobody's there, he hopes the words find them in time. He goes for a drive, takes a left, takes a right, pulls off to the side, ready to give up his life. He jumps, but he flies, and in the sky he writes line after line, a poem of hope, a poem of light. He's broken, but he'll be all right. He survived. He survived. Though he reached the sky, the sun still doesn't shine, and the fall from that height could destroy him if he can't grow wings in time. I wish there was a way to make things all right. I wish I could kill his fears without letting him die. Maybe he just needs some space and some time, and maybe someday he'll be fine. I wish I could save him. I would do anything to save his life. I wish I could save him. I would do anything to save my life. Hello and welcome. My name is Jaden, or Arranging the Pieces, and that poem you just heard is one from my first poetry book called Maybe Someday, which I wrote when I was 17 and 18 years old, and it's a collection of all the poetry I wrote at that time, which was a very dark and difficult time of my life. And I began writing to help cope with those things I was dealing with and help myself work through it all to start getting to a better place and eventually be able to write my second book called I Love Him at Last, where I began to get to a much better place with myself and everything in my life and got to a place where I could look myself in the mirror and look at my past self and truly say, I love him at last. So in this series I'm doing, we're going through each poem in this book one by one, kind of reflecting on who I was at the time and what inspired me to write these poems and what message or impact I was trying to make with them. And all these poems at the time were written just for myself, just to help me get through what I was going through. But then later on, I decided to publish them in this book. So then maybe other people out there who may be going through similar things to what I went through could see the things I've written, and maybe in some way it could help you or anyone who struggles in any way like I did to get through it and maybe be inspired in some way, or give you a bit of hope that you too could eventually get through those things and get to a better place where you are no longer trapped in that darkness and can find the light that you want to find in yourself and in your own life. So that's very much what this poem is sort of trying to get across. I wrote it a few months after a night where I had made the decision to be done with life, and thankfully, of course, I survived that and came out of it, and that became a huge source of inspiration for me to find the hope when things feel hopeless, like they did in that moment where I felt completely out of hope for myself and that my future had nothing worth living for. But somehow in that moment where I was there face to face with my end, somehow was able to find a little glimmer of hope, a little ray of light to give me a little spark of contrast in this darkness I was trapped in. And sometimes all you need is just a little flicker of light, a little tiny speck of hope, just something that can guide you through that darkness and help you get to a better place in the end. So throughout my high school years, kind of leading up to then, I was, as I kind of describe there in the poem, I don't feel like a lot of that really needs much explanation or breaking down. It's pretty straightforward in the way it's laid out there and explained, and that's a lot of what I was going through those years, and just my mental health and everything was steadily declining, and my anxiety was growing, and just fell into this horrible depression and began to develop a lot of really bad habits and really bad self-image and all these sorts of horrible things that really weighed down on me. And over the years, it just constantly compounded on top of itself and grew out of control until it just became too much to bear anymore. So in that moment, I thought I had the solution to curing myself of all those burdens. And of course, I now realize how wrong that was, and that to truly get through those things, I needed to find a way to cope with what I was dealing with and to find a way to turn that darkness into light. So then in that moment, after I had come out of it, I wrote my poem called Arrange, which I've gone through here on the channel a while back. And so if you'd like to check that out, you can look at my past videos, or I'll put a link to that one down in the description if you'd want to check out that first poem I wrote called Arrange. But that was my first attempt at taking this horrible way I was feeling and all this darkness within me that I was overwhelmed with, and trying to transform it into something new and transform it into a poem. So I was able to take all this crazy, confusing, horrible stuff that was trapped inside me and I had no good way to deal with, and put it on the page in front of me, so then I could really see it for what it was in a more constructive way, and I could feel a bit more inspired and hopeful by seeing this thing I had created. So then after that, I continued writing every day, all the time. Anytime I felt anything negative or felt like the way I was feeling was making me feel like doing something I'd probably regret, I would try to instead write. And that became my way of turning these negatives into positives and finding a new perspective on what I was going through. So I don't have a whole lot to say about the poem this time, because I feel like a lot of what it says is pretty self-explanatory and doesn't need a whole lot of discussion into all the details of it. But the main idea I want to get across here, and the message I want to leave you with, is that no matter what you're going through or how hopeless and dark it may seem, I believe that there always is some sort of light in there. And it's, of course, easier to see that darkness than to see the light hidden within it or underneath it. But that doesn't mean it doesn't exist and it can't be found. Just like I did with my depression and everything, I found a way through writing poetry to dig deeper into that darkness, find the light within, and pull that out so I can see the light that exists there too. and use that light to eventually slowly overcome that darkness. And of course, I still have a long way to go. It's been several years of that process, and things have been gradually getting better and better, and I'm gradually getting more and more light into my life and more of that darkness out. And it's been a really helpful thing for me these past years, but yeah, I'm still working on it now and continuing to find the light in my darkness. So my challenge for you is to do that exact same thing. Not necessarily through writing poetry. It could be whatever works for you. But if there's any source of darkness in your life, or you're just having trouble finding hope in anything that you're going through, I challenge you to find a way to transform that into something that can help guide you to a better place. Try to create something that can bring a smile to your face even when you're feeling lost and hopeless. Take that little speck of light or hope that you can find within it and hold on to that. Don't let it go. Do everything you can to keep that alive and help it grow. So, one quick little note I want to make about the poem that I think is pretty clear, but just in case it's not, I wanted to mention it here. But this poem kind of takes a third-person perspective, saying, like, of course, in the title, it's the death of him, and throughout it, I'm talking about he goes to bed late, so much on his mind, and so on throughout the whole poem. There were kind of a couple main reasons for that. One was just looking back and thinking about all this stuff was really hard seeing myself as that. So it kind of, in a way, made it easier to be like raw and honest and vulnerable about all this stuff. And if I'm talking about it in a third person way, like, no, it's not me doing all these things and feeling all these ways. It's this other imaginary person, this other individual, like separate from me. So writing in that way kind of helped me to see myself a bit more objectively and the whole situation without feeling like I was putting all this on me the whole time. Like, I was still, of course, talking about me, but in this sort of roundabout way that allowed me to more comfortably and freely just let it all out in a way. And then it kind of also created this separate character outside of me that I could then see and sort of see myself more honestly than I can when I'm just looking from my own eyes and within myself. And then in another sense, because I was writing this several months later, of course, I was still in a lot of ways very much the same person and hadn't come a long way from then. At that point, I had begun to take steps to grow and improve myself from then and get to a bit of a better mindset and everything. So when I was writing this, it didn't quite feel like it was exactly me anymore. Like it was that past version of me, not current me. So in a way, it also kind of felt wrong to say me, because this isn't me right now. I am not the me who was writing this was not the same as the version of me who experienced this and wrote the poem Arrange. So again, it just felt right to use that third person perspective. But then, of course, at the very end of the poem, where I say, I wish I could save him. I would do anything to save his life. I wish I could save him. I would do anything to save my life. That's where, Yuki, that's where I kind of reveal that it's actually me that I'm talking about. And it was this whole time. Like, is that sort of twist at the end, just showing the reader, the listener, whoever, that I was the one doing all these things and feeling all these ways, and it's me that I'm trying to save. It's not some other person who I'm trying to help and support through all of this. It's myself. This whole time I've been talking about me, and these are the things I've been going through, and that I am really trying to get myself to a better place and save my own life. So on another note, this poem is very much a direct follow-up to the poem right before it in the book, which I went over in my last video, and that poem is called Where I Wasn't Found. And in that one, I was kind of taking the perspective of myself right before these events, where I'm kind of giving up hope and giving up this fight against these feelings within myself and starting to kind of say my goodbyes and prepare myself for the end in all this. And then this one is where I'm actually in that moment, and then what comes of all that and how it all ended. So anyway, that is all I've got for this video and for this poem, The Death of Him. But of course, if you have any of your own thoughts on this poem or anything I talked about, or would just like to share any of your own stories that can connect with this in any way, you are always more than welcome to share any of that down in the comments, and I'll look forward to hearing what you have to say. And as always, thank you very much for watching and being here on this journey with me. I really appreciate you so much and hope to see you again in the next one. So, of course, if you enjoyed and would like to join me further on this journey, you are, of course, welcome to subscribe and also check out any of my past videos that you have not seen yet. And yeah, that's all I've got for today. So, as always, just remember, let your heart be open, even if no one receives it. Say what you mean, even if no one believes it. Live your life like you don't need a reason, because we're all broken and we're just arranging the pieces. Thank you.